Hello, friends, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Rumors podcast. I'm Mitchell Renz. That's Harris Rubenstein. Follow us on Twitter at MitchellRenz365, at Sportstein. And we got a pretty awesome show. Today's going to be a listener mailbag. I tweeted out, if you guys have any fantasy football rumors that you want Harris or I to answer, you can let us know. So I got them. We got some awesome questions. Before we get into the show, though, guys, if you like the show, please drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. Tell your friends, family. 5 stars.
5 stars.
And, follow Chat Sports on Instagram and Twitter at Chat Sports. Harris, we just did the NFL Power Rankings. That'll be our intro, and then we're going to get into some questions. Who's the best team in the NFL right now?
Eagles.
Eagles?
Eagles has to be. I like them more. I know their offense is great. I love their defense. I think their defense has gotten their act together recently. That D-line is crazy. Brandon Graham is absurdly good, as is Fletcher Cox. The linebacker core is not taking as big of a hit as I thought it was going to. The secondary's weirdly come together. Malcolm Jenkins might just be playing the best football of his career right now. I like this Eagles team. I think they're going to go places.
I'm going to agree with you as well. I think it's the Eagles as well at 10-1, led by who I think is the MVP of the league, Carson Wentz. If you guys disagree with us, let us hear it on Twitter.
And hey, you know what? If you're going to pick up a running back, at least pick up a great one for something better than a 4th-round pick.
JJ's been a good fit there. Hey, all right, man. First, I got 5 questions from Twitter, 2 believe it or not, and then 5 more questions.
Sweetness.
I've been told by producer Lane that we got to be quick on this show, so get ready for that. First one is from @Kyle Richardson. Which potential fantasy free agent would you add to your fantasy team right now? Le'Veon Bell, Alshon Jeffrey, or Jarvis Landry? Any concerns with any of them?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, that was my turn. Well, it's Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
I don't. It's Le'Veon Bell.
I think Le'Veon Bell out of all 3 of those,
Le'Veon
if that's the question, it's definitely Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
I understand this might be more of like a dynasty question, but Alshon Jeffrey and Landry aren't the best player at their position. So for me in that regard, I think it's Le'Veon Bell.
If you have a bad wide receiver core, I would take Jeffrey over Landry because he catches balls, but he doesn't get yards. He kind of catches touchdowns. But Alshon Jeffrey has been great the past couple weeks, but
It's Le'Veon Bell.
it's Le'Veon Bell.
All right, next one comes from @LoadedBox. Shout out to my guys there. Is Devontae Parker worth giving one more chance this week against the Broncos? You're shaking your head no?
No, because on the outs, they're going to put Chris Harris on him on the outside. Bradley Roby's going to cover Jarvis Landry on the inside. He's been one of the better slot corners in the league. I can understand thinking, hey, Talib is out. What's going to happen? Devontae Parker is one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL against press coverage.
Okay.
What is the only thing that the Denver Broncos do on defense? Is play press coverage. Chris Harris and Aqib Talib, even if he's playing, those are 2 of the best press-covered corners in the NFL. Devontae Parker can do nothing if you get hands on him on the line. That's what Chris Harris is going to do all day. Stephon Gilmore, who's been on the Patriots for 6 games, it was like, you just kind of have to push him off the line. He can do nothing. I think Devontae Parker should have been A.J. Green by now, but he's just not.
I think he has definitely the skill set to be a guy like A.J. Green, but he just hasn't put it together, and he doesn't have the quarterback play right now with a guy like Matt Moore. I agree. I'm not going to trust Devontae Parker. Third one comes from @ChickenAlfredo. I did a podcast with this guy earlier in the week. Shout out to New Pod Order. And his question is, does Tom regret saying Kareem Hunt will outscore Kamara? Well, Tom's not here, but I have to imagine he definitely regrets it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure he regrets saying that. I still think that Hunt is better than Kamara, but that's still just me. I think Kamara's a great player.
Okay.
But I still think that Kareem Hunt is going to end up being one of the...
Do you think Kareem Hunt outscores Alvin Kamara?
No.
Okay.
I think Alvin Kamara outscores...
I agree.
Yeah. I think fantasy-wise, Kareem Hunt is an option. I think you could maybe make a small argument that Kareem Hunt is no longer an RB1. I think you can probably make an argument that he's like an RB 1.5.
Okay.
Maybe.
I agree with that. I mean, he's still a leading running back on a team, which I think has a place. Sure, he hasn't scored a touchdown in 7 straight weeks, but again, I mean, not every guy can be as efficient as Alvin Kamara. Fantasy rumor number 4 comes from FF Dynasty. Is it time to bench all Broncos? I'm going to say no.
No,
okay.
yeah. I can't.
I'm going to say no. Do I think
bench
you
C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson's done. I'm not trusting any of the quarterbacks. I'm still going to trust guys like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders because I think they are really, really solid wide receivers. Sure, you're not really going to feel confident as a wide receiver 2. Maybe you can play them in the flex, but again, I don't know how many teams have better options than starting somebody over Sanders or Thomas in like a flex.
It's still Demaryius Thomas.
For sure. Next one I'm going is from @BeerFueledFF. Shout out to my guys there. What team has been the most disappointing and what team has been the most surprising? So this is a real NFL question. Also, Beer Fueled Fantasy Football, they love sipping beers. Guys, you got to try this Pale Ale from Pale Ale Brewing Company. Shout out to them. Really solid beer for sure. All right, Harris, what team has been the most disappointing for you?
Oakland Raiders. I really thought this team was on the precipice of becoming one of the elite NFL franchises. They had the quarterback. They had the offensive system. They had a growing defense. And then it just seems this year that every single time something could have gone wrong for the Oakland Raiders, something has gone wrong. And I understand Ken Horton being the fall guy, the defensive coordinator. They fired him. Yep. Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin were not too pleased. They actually were given a day off from practice because they were so angry. I get that him being the fall guy is a thing, but man, this Raiders team should not be 5-6.
The most disappointing team for me is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a team who I thought could actually compete for their division, and they're by far the worst team in the division. I think they have one of the worst defenses in the league. Jameis Winston has definitely fallen off, and considering all the options that this team had on offense, I thought this was going to be just a fantasy football gold mine.
They don't play their best players on defense. It's so weird. They don't play Chris Baker, who's one of the best defensive linemen in football. They, for whatever reason, have TJ Ward as a rotating safety with like Chris Conte or something. I just don't understand what they're doing on the defense side of the ball. They need another corner because Vernon Hargraves is only going to the slot. Brent Grimes is super old. Again, another team that every single time something could have gone right for them, it didn't. And not to mention Mike Evans is just not having the type of season he was last year.
Well, I think he was the guy who had the chemistry with a guy like Jameis. And Jameis is still a young quarterback. I mean, he's younger than me. I know that. And I don't think he's younger than you. But it's still one of those things. I thought Jameis, third-year quarterback who was taken first overall, he didn't make that step even when he was playing 2-6 as a starter this year. Doug Martin's really struggled. He has not looked good. And I don't know how many more options you can put around a guy like Jameis. He was a huge disappointment. That's why Buccaneers are my biggest disappointment. All right, Harris, most surprising team?
Saints.
Saints? Okay.
I would say the Rams, but there was a universe where I could have seen this happening. Because there's no way that Goff was going to be as bad again as he was last year. And especially with someone like Todd Gurley. The offense had to improve. They made a bunch of good moves. Man, I don't think I've ever seen a single rookie class hit a franchise and make such an immediate impact. I can't remember the last time. It's not even just one player. It's 3 players, 4 players on this defense that have done incredible things for them. Marshawn Lattimore single-handedly turned Ken Crawley into one of the 10 best corners in the league. What? Like, I never would have saw this. I thought the Saints were on path to be 8-8 football team. Again, 8 wins already with 5 games left to go.
That's what I mean. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore, we talked about Rookie of the Years on our last podcast. Marshawn Lattimore is definitely a guy that you consider being Rookie of the Year. He has been truly that great. For me, though, the most surprising team is the Rams. This is an NFL team who was basically non-existent offensively last year. Now they're top 3 offense, I think, in the NFL in terms of points scored.
Look what happens when you fire Jeff Fisher.
For sure, though, like,
bad.
I wrote a lot about Todd Gurley coming into this season, thinking like he's got to have the bounce back year. Sure, I did not think he was going to be this great, but again, this Rams team, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, that's going to be a nice little threesome that I'm going to be loving watching going forward. It's the Rams. All right, 2 fantasy believe it or nots I got for you, Harris. First one, believe it or not, 3 tight ends have 7 or more touchdowns this season. Last season, the NFL leader was Hunter Henry and Cameron Brate with 8.
All right, well, Ertz definitely has 7. Definitely.
Ertz definitely has 7.
So many touchdowns. Gronk has 7.
Gronk also has 7.
Gronk has 7. Now, here's the question. Kelsey does not.
You're right.
Because I own Travis Kelsey, and he does not have 7 touchdowns. Does Jimmy Graham? Because Jimmy Graham has scored a lot of touchdowns this year, but not a lot of yards.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There are 3 tight ends in the NFL who have over 7 touchdowns. Gronk and Ertz have 7. Jimmy Graham leads the NFL right now with 8 among all tight ends.
I got one.
Harris, you got it right, my man. Fantasy football rumor number 2 I got for you. Believe it or not, in a PPR league, Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley are the only running backs with over 200 fantasy points scored.
I'm gonna take that too. I'm gonna take that. I'm trying to think of running backs that would have broken 200 fantasy points.
So this is, and I guess in terms of, so Todd Gurley's at 230, or Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell are around like the 230, 240 mark.
Ooh, or do they have 40 more points than the next highest running back? Actually, then I'm going to say no, because I think that point spread's just a little bit too much for me.
Okay. What if I told you that there are 3 running backs who have more than 200 fantasy points? Would you be able to name the third?
Look, if it's you're smiling at me like it's Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, my man, is doing it. He's been the number 1 running back since week 5, since they traded Adrian Peterson. Alvin Kamara, 214 fantasy points in a PPR league. He's the only; those 3 are the only guys with more than 200 fantasy points.
It's outrageous.
In PPR leagues. He's been that great. All right, Harris, 5 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up here. This one's from my dude, Nate Hamilton. It's a 2-part question, so I like that. Can the Chiefs get it going or turn it around, considering how beneficial their schedule is? And I don't see the first part of this question. So
we have another one. Then who can you trust?
Who can you trust on the team?
So their schedule at the Jets, home versus Oakland, Chargers, Miami in a row, and then they're at Denver to end the year. I see them going 3-2. I see them losing to the Chargers, and I see them losing one random game because they've been chiefing it really hard. But I see them going 3-2 and ending the year 9-7. Whether or not that's enough to win the division, I think it matters a lot with that Chargers game.
Yep.
But at the same time, who can you trust on this team? I think there's only 2 people. I think it's only Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt. I think everyone else should have their butts on your bench. Even Alex Smith. No, thank you.
Alex Smith is still actually a top 5 quarterback, but I agree with you, Harris. It's Travis Kelce. Kareem Hunt, even though he hasn't been great in the world of running backs that we live in.
You still have to kind of start him.
And the Chiefs actually have we just read that schedule. It's pretty favorable. Hopefully, they start feeding the ball to Kareem Hunt. I think it's Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, but I agree with you. I think it's 3-2. I think they're lose to the Chargers. I think the Chargers end up winning this division, but I don't know what other game they're going to lose. But the way that they've been playing, I think they're definitely going to lose a game in there. Next question is from _FantasyGods_. Is Leonard Fournette going to return to form, or is he just a lost cause?
He's somewhere in the middle. I've said this before. Leonard Fournette is the biggest boomer bust running back we have in the NFL today. And that's not a bad thing. That's what he was in college. He will be like a 4 yards in a cloud of dust guy in his career, but right now he's too young. Right now he's going to break off 99-yard touchdown runs against the Pittsburgh Steelers when he's already has like 80 yards in that game. Like, that's just who he is. So I think he will return to form, but there's a ceiling to it.
I hear you. I think the Jaguars have a pretty favorable schedule, and I think that really bodes well for a guy like Fournette, who then can be in positive game scripts and really get the ball. But he even said it himself. He's dealing with this ankle injury right now, and we saw him deal with ankle injuries in college. He said that he'd be surprised if he's 100% healthy. But again, we said it, I believe, last week. Leonard Fournette at less than 100% is still better than a lot of running backs in the NFL. I agree with Harris, so he does have that high, big play potential. I think he's in the middle. Like, there's going to be weeks where Leonard Fournette, doesn't get it going because this Jaguars offense isn't all that great. Then there's going to be matchups where the Jaguars really show their dominance on a team.
There'll be weeks where he wins. He might. Hey, you know what? If you put him into your lineup and he wins you a playoff game, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And that's the thing. Playoffs coming up. You can't sit Leonard Fournette.
No.
He has been way too good to sit. Next one is from @UpperPerkChiefs. Russell Wilson or Jared Goff this week?
Trying to remember, who are the Seahawks playing and who are the Rams playing? Because
that's a good question.
At this point for me, it's kind of interesting. I honestly, I actually think about it. I don't even know if it matters who they're playing against. I think it's Russell Wilson.
Okay.
He's the number one fantasy scoring quarterback right now. He's on fire. He accounts for 86% of his team's total offense.
Love that stat.
Goff is great. Goff is fun.
So Goff is on the road against the Cardinals.
Okay.
And the Seahawks are home against the Eagles. That's tough. Russ?
I understand that Goff probably is a better matchup, but Russell Wilson at home. Russell Wilson at home. Russell Wilson at home. Russell Wilson at home.
Russell Wilson has the most fantasy points out of all positions this year in fantasy football. And it's because, like you said, he's been such a dominant force for his offense.
He's
rushing,
the best player on the team.
Passing. Does more for his team than anybody in the NFL, and I've said that before. I'm going to go with a guy like Russell Wilson at home.
What's interesting about Russell Wilson this year, and then we can move right on from this is the first year that he has actually been the best player on that Seahawks team. Because there have been years where, Wagner's been the best or Earl Thomas. No, this is Russell Wilson's team now because the secondary's fallen apart. The team now runs through Russell Wilson. If he has a good game, they're going to win. If he plays poorly, they're going to lose. That's how the team works now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think he's definitely showed up big. And again, guys, I understand Jared Goff had a good week last week, or he really didn't even have that good of a fantasy points game, but you can't say Russell Wilson. He's too good right now. Fantasy rumor number 4 is coming in from @maps_GOD. This is my dude, Derek Duckworth. Adam Thielen has 2 good years coming into the season. Are there any other small school guys or guys who went undrafted that are currently playing right now?
Well, I do know of one former Kent State quarterback. Did you know that Julian Edelman used to play quarterback at Kent State? I don't think they.
I knew he used to play quarterback. I did not know it was at Kent State.
They haven't mentioned it enough on every single broadcast of every single game that he's ever played that he was a former quarterback at Kent State. Blah blah blah. Edelman. Trying to think of other ones. Antonio Brown.
He went to Central Michigan, 5th round pick. The guys who I think of Chris Hogan.
Monmouth.
Monmouth is a good story. He actually didn't even play football. He played lacrosse for 4 years at Penn State. And then he went to go Monmouth and play. But when I just think of guys in general, C.J. Anderson was undrafted. Sure, he's not killing it right now, but he's still a guy who we considered at least a reliable fantasy guy coming into the season. But Antonio Gates, he's still not relevant now, but there was a time where Antonio Gates, you could argue he's the greatest tight end of all time.
And do you know what? Antonio Gates has played the last 5 years of his career on 2 bionic legs. So pretty interesting that we have a cyborg in the NFL.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But another guy who I love, who I think is the best fantasy football undrafted guy in recent memory for me, is Arian Foster. He was a total dominant force for the Texans. Bow down to you, Foster. I love that question, though, my man. All right, last one is from @the5thdownFF. With the way the NFL is going in smaller defenses, and we're starting to see more nickel defenses, are we going to keep seeing the trend of a power running back with high capital?
I like this question a lot. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, mostly because it all goes back to high school football. Because that is where trends begin in the NFL, because that's where talent establishes itself. Running backs in high school football do this. Just go up and down. Sometimes you have unbelievable talent, other times you have garbage talent. Other times you have great talent, garbage talent. Right now, and going over probably the next 3 years of college football, we're going to have some outstanding running backs coming out of college. We had a great rookie running back class this year. We're going to have a great rookie running back class next year. We're going to have a great rookie running back class coming in the year after that. So 3 straight years of great rookie running back classes going to change the face of the NFL. Think of the passing teams that we used to have. The Saints, the Patriots, the Broncos, back when they had Peyton Manning. Yep. Now look at those teams. Rex Burkhead and Deion Lewis are getting, 40% of the touches every single game. Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. The Saints are a running football team now. The Packers are starting to run the ball more than ever, even when they had Aaron Rodgers. The NFL goes and flows. It ebbs and flows between passing and running. We're going back to running, and it's fun.
And I like it too because the NFL is all about trends, and if you can beat that trend, like we said, I think about 4 years ago, the NFL was just putting up crazy numbers, and there was a lot of nickel, a lot of cornerbacks, and a lot of smaller guys on defense. And then coaches said, why am I passing against defenses that are literally made to stop the pass?
You know who shattered it? Adrian Peterson in 2012. Adrian Peterson in 2012 reminded the NFL, hey, by the way, if you have an amazing running back, you're going to win a lot of games. It doesn't really matter. And defenses are getting smaller. Corners are getting faster, not bigger. Linebackers are getting faster, not bigger. Safeties are getting bigger, not faster. That equals really, really, really easy running and easy eating for running backs. There's a reason why Alvin Kamara can school every single person he covers, because safeties are changing.
Yep.
And a lot of the times they're who get matched up against running backs.
And I think that's why we've seen just an uptick in guys like Jordan Howard getting a lot of carries, Todd Gurley getting a lot of carries, Le'Veon Bell. We're seeing touches that we really haven't seen in the last 5 years.
Gurley was actually you could probably say that Gurley and Melvin Gordon were the start of the crazy young running back classes we had come in. I mean, we're in Gurley's 4th year?
Ezekiel Elliott, I think really. I'm
Zeke,
thinking like Zeke's last year.
Zeke last year, the year before that, I believe, was Gurley. Now it's Kamara and Hunt. Next year it's going to be like Saquon Barkley, Darius Geis, Nick Chubb from Georgia. You're going to have Bo Scarborough come out in a couple years from Alabama. Derrick Henry's going to get the starting job next year. We're about to get back to a running football league. I'm actually pretty excited for it. It's going to do a lot of good things for the game.
Going to do a lot of good things for fantasy football. Fingers crossed. Guys, that's all the time we have for you today. If you like the show, please drop us that 5-star review on iTunes. Tell your friends, family, I don't care who you tell, random people at the park. Remember to follow Harris at Sports Team.
There you go.
Follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. Please follow Chat Sports on Instagram and Twitter at Chat Sports. And until next time, you guys stay classy.